Welcome back to Real Faith Conversations, and in this show we try to talk about life, culture, and faith in the most genuine way possible. My name is Ryan Morris, and I am here with William Bellitta, a new member at Saint Peter Parish and a young man who is already very active. He is a member of the media ministry here, a Boy Scout trying to get approval for his Eagle Scout project already, and an altar server at Saint Peter Parish. Today we are going to talk about his experience in homeschooling and how it has shaped him in his early life so far. How you doing, William?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, Ryan?
Good. It's really interesting because you've been a part of this show for a while now, but behind the scenes, you were, a camera person, the audio person. You've helped out a huge ton on this show, but now you're in the hot seat. You are in front of the camera. You're in front of the microphone, ready to go. How does it feel?
Well, I have been in this seat before, but I've always been in the background most of these times, and I'm kind of enjoying it right now.
Yeah, it feels good, huh? To be up here in front of the camera. Nice. How about you do a little introduction to you so our audience can get to know you a little bit better?
So my name is William Bellitta, and I'm 14, and it's currently my freshman year in high school. And I have been homeschooled since second grade, and I've really enjoyed it through all these years, and I'm looking forward to future years. And as Ryan said, I am a Boy Scout for Troop 56, and I am working on my Eagle Scout project. I am going to hand my blue cards in for 2 merit badges today, and those are the 2 merit badges I need to get for Eagle, and I'm really excited about that. So yeah.
Nice. And yeah, because it's not very common that someone of your age is actually going for an Eagle Scout project, right? Explain to the audience who knows nothing about Eagle Scout projects.
So Eagle Scout projects, well, we've all seen an Eagle Scout project at least once in our lives, either like a park pavilion or like a table or a bench or maybe like a monument or a website or something like that. There's all sorts of different Eagle Scout projects. But the one thing that you need in order to have a successful Eagle Scout project is you need to show leadership in all those projects. And in each one of those projects, that plaque that you see on there doesn't just symbolize that one person who did it. It symbolizes all the people who did it and the leadership that it took for that one person to achieve that thing.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I've heard that there's like a lot of fundraising projects with like Boy Scouts and all that stuff. And I heard you did one for popcorn.
Yes.
And you raised like what, $8,000 worth of popcorn. Every time I hear that, it's just mind blowing. Like, how did you even do that?
Well, so my first year of popcorn, I sold $4,000, and originally I was pumped to do it. I saw all the rewards, and it just really got me into it because, I saw the rewards, and as any little kid would do, oh my gosh, I want that thing, Ma, can I do it? So
the rewards like of what you get in the end?
Yeah. So I looked at it, and I said to myself, I want to do that. So when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
So I talked to my parents, and being the great parents that they are, they helped me make a graph. They helped me make a daily schedule for how much I had to sell each day.
Wow. To keep you on track.
Yes.
And what was the original goal?
So the original goal was, I think it was 3,600 because that was the level I needed.
Wow.
But so I realized I was so close to 4,000. I was like, I'm going to go to 4,000. So I went to 4,000 and ended up selling $4,236 exactly, I think.
Wow.
So it was fun. And then next year I was like, I want to do more. So I think it was 6,000. The year after that, I wanted to sell 7,000. The year after that, I wanted to sell 8,000. And then COVID hit. So everything went virtual, sadly. And I could have done 10,000. But
you settled for 8.
But yes, I settled for 8. And especially with COVID, I ended up selling online. Everything was online. I had to sell emails. I got acquainted with MailChimp. And it was just most of all more of a learning curve, but it's not really that marketing thing you normally do.
Yeah.
You're really, before you're really trying to sell your item based on what you're saying and who you are as a person, what you feel about it. You're showing emotion about your product. But then when it came online, it was more of like, oh yeah, I have to just sell my product, and I don't really have any emotion to show I want to sell it or anything like that. So I had to sell my product in a more presentation kind of a way.
Yeah.
You know, my first year I came up with a more of like a sales speech that I'd tell people when they came up to my show and tell. And that also helped me a lot. But nowadays I see these videos and they're all like, come up with a sales speech. And I'm like, that's the first thing I did, and they didn't have videos like this.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that kind of it brings us to the next point. Like, you obviously have the social skills. You have, you sold $8,000 worth of popcorn of all things. It's just so crazy to think about. But that's one of the myths behind homeschooling, right? That, it's sort of a bubble. Maybe the kids are antisocial and things like that. There's a lot of myths, right? The social time, it's not that real education. Sometimes you hear that. Maybe the parents aren't really qualified to teach. That's another myth I've heard. The proof of outcomes. There's a lot of myths, and you've probably heard so many as a homeschooler yourself. How about you talk about that? Is there some truth to it? Can you debunk these myths for us here on Real Faith Conversations?
Well, so let's first talk about the myth of how homeschooling is not sociable. So people think that it's not sociable because what happens is they think about it, oh, you're at home all day and you're just working and it's just you or your parent and you're not really having that quality time with your friends. Well, believe it or not, that quality time you spend with your parents can pay off to less time actually doing school and more time actually doing things outside the house, like sports, like speech and debate like I do, Boy Scouts, track, cross country, all those things. There's just all that time you spend at your house working with your parents gives you more time to do things with other people.
Yeah, that's a good point. What are some of the things that you like doing outside the house?
So outside the house, every day I go to, it's homeschooling, but for me, I'm mobile most of the time.
Wow.
So I'm at my dad's office.
So before COVID-19, you were like already remote, working and all that stuff for your school.
So I would go to my dad's office every day. I'd sit in the office and I'd work on my stuff, and then we'd pack up and leave. I had sociable time because obviously on my breaks I text my friends and, I do the stuff that a normal teenager would do. But...
And you mentioned you're in debate.
Yes.
Is it a club or how does that work?
Well, so it's a league, and the league is made up of different clubs, and then the clubs make up different regions.
Oh, wow.
So
it's pretty elaborate.
Yes, it's very elaborate.
And it's only in the homeschool network, or can public school students?
Public school students can do it.
Oh, okay.
But it's not limited to only homeschoolers.
Yeah, okay.
But a majority of the people who do it are in homeschool.
What is this thing called?
So it's called NCFCA.
NCFCA.
Which I think is the National Christian... NCF... Yeah, the National Christian Faith Coalition...
I don't know. Yes. It's okay. We'll link it in the description.
Yes.
Whatever it actually is.
But what it is, it's a debate league, and we do tournaments it's like usually at the beginning of every year. And it goes every month, and it's just a really good community, Christian community that cares about God's values.
Yeah.
And their slogan is to challenge and equip students to become ambassadors for Christ. Wow. Which is a very good slogan, and in fact they are achieving that every day because kids are becoming more willing to share what they believe and not so held back by a majority of the things that like being shy. A lot of kids are forced into it for their parents because they're like, oh, my kid's shy. I want them to make a difference, but I don't want them to be shy. So they end up enrolling their kids in it. And after 3-4 years, they love it. They go to nationals every year where all these kids from different regions come together and they compete. And whoever wins gets a trophy, and it's a championship. And everyone's just so happy about, competing there. And even getting there is just such an achievement that everyone's just so happy to be there. And it's just really wholesome, and it's a really good community.
That's really cool. And it allows you to have some free time, too, to do things like this, like real faith conversations. Being a part of the media ministry here at St. Peter is an extracurricular in a way for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being so active, like I mentioned before, you're an altar server here. And how does homeschooling in the way you do it? Because I know there's many different like platforms and curriculums out there.
Mm-hmm.
The way you do it, how does it equip you to be a better servant leader at church and in your faith?
Mm-hmm. So, being a homeschooler, what that does is it opens so many doors in a multiple and a numerous amount of ways. So, a way back, I did a podcast with my dad every Wednesday. I think it was Thursday at 10.
Okay.
And
was this a live one, or did you pre-record it?
Pre-record, but
Okay.
this is 10 o'clock. Kids are usually in school then. So my parents would count it as part of my school, because what I was doing was I was exercising my oratory skills to speak.
Getting practical skills too, with all of that planning work, I'm sure.
And I'd rehearse it with my dad, and
Really
it was
cool.
just really fun just to, be with my parents doing that and just learning from it and excelling at what I like doing, which is talking.
Yeah, we know that, right, from youth ministry. He's in our youth ministry program too, and he really, I always joke around that you like steal the show, but you have a lot of insights, right, that are really valuable. I really appreciate your thoughts on that stuff. But yeah, it seems like the way you do it, not speaking about anything else, the way you do it seems to work in growing your faith and maturing you spiritually.
Well, let me touch on how I do it more, because
let's dive into that.
Yeah. So what I do is, currently, since I'm in high school, I have I have a forum, and I sign into my forum, and then there's these lectures that these well-known professors put together, and they talk about all sorts of different things. It ranges from scientific things like biology, our night sky, and all that stuff. And it ranges from also math to English to grammar to writing to speech. And you get all those things in one. And all you have to do is just do the courses, understand those things they're teaching, do quizzes and whatnot, and, you get through it. But previous years, especially in my, when I was younger, so my first year of homeschooling, we chose to do Angelicum Academy, which is a Christian group of students that's based out of Colorado. And they have this family just put it together, and they all are doctors, apparently. And they love what they do. They like to teach. They love poetry. They like science.
So there's like a huge emphasis on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so it emphasizes a classical kind of education that is just fun to learn, and it gives you the skills that you need to be able to, talk. Gives you the skills you need to be able to write well. Gives you the skills just to express your thoughts in a way that, other people can understand well.
Yeah.
And, with all that, believe it or not, there's time to do all this extracurricular stuff. So it's not limited to just homeschooling.
Yeah.
That's not your schooling. Your schooling is your life. So with homeschooling, you get all this other things like speech, popcorn, Boy Scouts, all that, and that's all school. But school's our daily lives, so it's just school becomes your life, and then your life becomes sociable. It becomes enhanced, from all those subjects, from all those opportunities, and I always think about it, and I think about, oh yeah, well, God put me in the position when I was younger for a purpose. When I was younger, I struggled to find a school. I was so excited my first day of school that I hopped on the bus and I was smiling all the way there. But when I got there, it just, I was happy learning this stuff, but then I couldn't put the pieces together. I couldn't link those things together that I was being taught. And when I didn't understand it, I became to be not interested in what I was learning.
Yeah. It's like the cookie cutter model,
Exactly.
right? Like it's one size fit all.
No, so my parents chose that school, and I'm not naming any names. They chose that school because they had such a high kind of expectation for their student that they thought, oh yeah, these teachers have PhD in teaching. They're going to be able to achieve that.
Yeah. And
they didn't. And they didn't they didn't achieve the expectations of my parents. And that's when I moved to a Catholic school. And I was there for about a year-ish. And I wanted to do second grade, but the school was about to close down, and I thought that was really sad because I love that school. It was fun. But, my parents started looking at a lot of the religious curriculum I was being taught, and they were questioning it. And because it was Common Core, and it didn't necessarily advance what real Christianity was about.
Yeah. Just like the textbook stuff that
Yeah.
you always learn. Yeah, I get you. I feel the same way. Like, I went through early on Catholic school, public school, then after that, charter school, then public school. And especially in high school, it's like this, I guess even before high school too, it's like this, from the time you get in to the time you get out, you have this like structured day that's like the same every day almost. And then when I got into college, it was more flexible. I like that aspect of it. I'm hearing sort of remnants of that, right? Like, I'm hearing hints of that in your homeschooling curriculum, where it's flexible, where you can get involved in practical things, like podcasts, like other things like that, debating people during the day, which I think is valuable, right? Especially if it works for you.
And this also opens up a ton of space for jobs. Because when I was selling popcorn, there were a lot of people who were like, I'm going to hire you because you do such a good job, like, talking about these things, and your product really well. And, I know where to go if I need a job. So it kind of just allowed me to grow in my own way that wasn't necessarily such a cookie cutter kind of way.
Yeah, that's so cool. And so it's basically what you're saying is, because of it's not cookie cutter, you can grow as an individual more and do things you like, and it makes you more engaged and interested in the topics rather than like, oh, this is the same thing every day. Am I hearing this correct? That's awesome, man. Like, and
definitely, like, the same thing every day can get kind of boring.
Yeah,
you can kind of tune out and go on autopilot, which isn't good. So
yeah, it can, and it did feel like that sometimes. Of course they try to throw in like different classes during the day, like in public school, but I hear you. It was not as flexible as I wanted it to be. That's for sure. And some people, they do need the structure like that. They need to have that whatever. Maybe it works for them, but I can relate to you in the sense that I would want, now looking back, now that I've experienced college and other things, and now like I kind of make my own schedule during the day now. Especially during COVID, right? We all felt a little free in terms of like flexibility, but
because we had all that free time to fill.
Yeah,
it was just kind of like a reworking of our schedule.
Yeah, like instead of commuting 40 minutes, you hop on Zoom, and things like that. So that's cool. That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you that you're able to express yourself in a way that grows your faith, that grows your human person, right? You as a young man. And I'm glad that you are getting involved around here at Saint Peter. What are some of the takeaways, would you say, is like some of the pieces of that formula of your success as a young man so far?
Well, number one, my parents.
They're huge,
without
right?
my parents, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Number two, my willingness to understand and learn the things I'm being taught. And three, my God-given gifts. My God's just given me such gift of naturally wanting to talk
Yeah.
because I originally wasn't a shy kid. I'd always, whenever I saw a person, I'd be like, hi, because that was the first word I knew. And I always wanted to be out there and, reach out to people and just say hi. But through my life, I came to the realization that, God wants me to talk. And he gave me the tools to be able to talk. And I need to use them in a way that's going to better his will.
Yeah.
And then I'd say 4 would be my dad's persistence to have me learn the things I need to learn. Without him, I wouldn't learn the things I need to learn. It's just he's taught me how to, like a work ethic, if you will. Yeah, he has his DA in chiropractic, which is just...
And he has his own practice, right? And that's where you said you do a lot of your work, right? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's so cool. You get great mentors in your life, and they happen to be your parents, right? That's always an awesome situation to be in. And you mentioned too about in our conversation before talking about this, you mentioned something about don't shelter your kids. This is a message to parents now, right? Don't shelter your kids, even if you put them in homeschool. Make them do all the things maybe you're doing, right?
Exactly, yeah. Because a lot of the things that parents do nowadays is they are either too shelter, they shelter the kids too much, or what they do is they don't shelter them at all, which both are bad. But you should at least allow them to expound on their own and look at all the other options and decide for themselves what they want to do.
Yeah.
But you should also be their mentor in life so that you don't necessarily become that person that they never want to be around. Because, my parents have been like, when's he going to be that one teenager that hates his parents? Well, I've never been like that, and I don't want to be like that. And
we'll keep this documented, right? For when you maybe turn that way a little bit. We'll play this back and say, hey, William, remember this moment where you said you don't want to be like this? We'll see in the future if that happens. But we got it on record now.
Oh, no. No, so I think that if parents would, let their children grow in their own way, they would see how their child has understood what they've taught them and how they can see how good God is in sending that child there and bringing him into your life so that him or her into your life so that you can see how great he is and just the fruits of his labor and your labor.
That's awesome. What would you say to a kid or a parent that's pondering homeschool but have heard about the myths that we maybe discussed today, and they're like, hey, I don't know if it's for me, or maybe they're in homeschooling and they feel isolated a little bit? What is your suggestion for them?
Well, for the parents and the children who've been pondering homeschooling, I'd say try it, get into it, try it for maybe not even a half of a year or a year and see how much the child likes it. And always remember, homeschooling, you can change it. It's not like a solid set thing where, you're assigned to a zip code and you're in a public school and that's all you have. It's cheap and it's affordable and there's so many options, and it's not just that one option that you think might just be the only one. For the kids who are feeling down about it, I'd say if you're feeling down about it, get in touch with your parents, tell them you're feeling that way, and make sure that they understand your perspective thoroughly, and research other options, see all the other curriculums, all the other programs that are out there, and see what you want to do, because homeschooling only works if you want to do it.
Yeah, if you take the initiative and say, hey, let me try this, That's awesome, man. Oh, it's cool. Well, I'm glad that we get to sit down and have these kind of conversations, and I'm so happy to see you around the church getting more active. I hope you continue that, right, and in the future, and try different things around here, too. I'm so glad to see you as an altar server up there at Mass. You've been doing a great job. I think at the 7 o'clock Mass, right? 7 a.m.
o'clock. I know we wake up early, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we don't like music.
So if you go to the 7 a.m. Mass here at St. Peter, look for William up there. He has glasses on.
And sometimes contact.
Sometimes contacts. And then, of course, I would love to have you on the show some more.
Yes.
Did you have a fun time? at
Yes,
this?
I did,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you.
Well, would you recommend someone else to come on?
Definitely, yeah. Come on the show if you want. And it's really fun if you like talking.
If you like talking. We know you like to talk, especially about scripture. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, like he said, if you want to come on the show, email media@stpeterchurch.net. That is media@stpeterchurch.net. Suggest a topic. I mean, we talked about homeschooling. I'm sure we'll talk about other things in the future.
Yes,
Maybe about your
definitely.
Eagle Scout project, because I
Yeah.
know it's an interesting one that's coming up.
I would be more than willing to talk about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, William, thank you so much for joining us at Real Faith Conversations. I hope you continue to have amazing conversations now and in the future.
All right,
See you later.
Thank you so much, Ryan.